Hello, my name is Alexis, and this is my video reflection for real-time environment. The idea I had for this project was to take a section of Ikushima and recreate it with a bit of a twist. Here are some images and clips of Ikushima for reference. Ikushima is an island located in the Nagasaki prefecture of Japan. It formerly employed thousands of coal miners. The coal mines opened in 1959 and closed in 2001. As of 2018, only 130 people remain on the island, and most sections are heavily overgrown and abandoned. As you can see from the images and clips of Ikushima, there are big apartment-style buildings covered in overgrown ivy, which I decided I would recreate as the main piece of the environment. That was a quick rundown of Ikushima's history. Now, I mentioned at the start there was a twist to this environment. And that twist is, instead of the miners leaving the island when the coal mines dried up, I wanted to make it a bit more supernatural in a sense, and put objects into the environment such as broken trees and a tree stump with big claw marks on the side. I did this to hint at the fact that something much darker went down on the island. Monsters came out from the depths of the mines, which is what forced everyone to suddenly up and leave the island, leaving behind most of their personal belongings. I originally planned on having this scene much more filled out, but the ivy setup and car model took a lot longer to make than I expected, and I just ran out of time. I wanted to create a bunch of rubble around the area to indicate more damage like fallen concrete from the buildings, etc. If I decided to continue working on this scene, that is something I intend to add for more depth to the environment. The models I ended up completing from the list I made at the beginning phase of the project were the apartment buildings and windows as the main piece of the scene, the hard hat, flashlight and pickaxe to show the history of the mining in the town, the Japanese mini trucks for the time period, the broken tree and damaged tree stump to hint at something more sinister, and a chain fence model to keep the players in the main area of the scene. I made these models using 3ds Max and reference images to go off of for the modeling process. After I was happy with how a model looked, I unwrapped it in 3ds Max to make the texturing process work better, and then exported the model so I could take it into Substance Painter to texture it. The final process was to import the models and textures into Unreal Engine and apply the correct textures to the correct models. After all that was done, they were ready to be placed into my scene, and the level started to come together piece by piece. Looking back at the project, I think that the modeling part would have to be my favorite. I love seeing the things I create slowly look better and better the more I would work on them, which I think is also a fault of mine in a sense, that I would spend way too much time on one model, giving me less time to make a variety of different models. For the foliage of the scene, I used free grass assets and painted them on the landscape with Unreal Engine's foliage tool as my helper. It ended up looking really nice. However, I do think that I need to figure out a way to optimize the foliage better, as it is the main cause for frame drops in my scene, the grass and ivy being the biggest issue for lag. What I would like to do in future projects I make like this one is to better understand optimization. How I am at now is I only have a very basic level of understanding and still not entirely sure how to implement it into the game scene. I would like to learn how to create settings to change the graphics for people so that no matter what their systems are working with, they will still be able to enjoy and experience any of the games I make in the future. Through my experience working on this project, I feel I have learned a great deal more about how to create an environment inside a game engine, such as Unreal Engine 5 as my personal choice. I have gained more knowledge of sculpting a landscape and how to set up nice looking lighting to suit my scene. I also learned about the level of detail setting and how to apply more LODs to a model. Overall, reflecting on my time working on this project, I can say it was very enjoyable, even though there were many difficulties, such as changing the ivy and grass up about 10 different times until I was happy with it, and expanding my scene with a bigger landscape and background buildings last minute to make the scene feel more realistic. However, I do not regret doing these things, as I feel in terms of how my environment looks, I am happy with it. My only disappointment about the scene is that I feel it is a bit emptier than I wanted it to be, and I could have done better at providing more models if I managed my time just a little bit better. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my reflection of my real-time environment based on a section of Ikeshima.